Captain Dosu walked through the grand hall of the Thraxian embassy. His tall form cast a long shadow across the polished floor. At 9 feet tall with black scales that caught the light like jewels, he stood out even among his own kind. The 17 medals on his chest clinked softly as he moved. "Ambassador, the human ship has arrived," said his aide, bowing deeply. Dosu nodded. These humans were new to space travel. Only 3 months ago, they had discovered the secret to faster-than-light travel and joined the Galactic Concord. Many races had taken centuries to achieve what humans had done in decades. "Prepare the welcome hall," Dosu ordered. "And bring the special wine from the Orion sector." Other Thraxians had laughed when Dosu was given this job. Humans? Those soft-skinned weaklings, they had sneered. But Dosu saw something in the reports that interested him. Humans adapted quickly. They learned from their mistakes. They survived where others would give up. The first human ship to meet aliens had ended in tragedy. A mistake in communication had led to weapons fire. Lieutenant Taeho Kim had died saving his captain and crew. That captain was now the leader of this human delegation, Commander Jun Park. Dosu reviewed her file one more time. She had risen quickly through the ranks of Earth's Space Force. Her mind was sharp, her decisions fast but rarely wrong. And she was loyal to her people, especially to her fallen friend Kim. The grand doors opened, and 5 humans entered. They looked small and fragile to Dosu's eyes. Their skin was so thin, their bones so breakable. Yet they walked with confidence. "Ambassador Dosu," said the woman in front. "I am Commander Park. Thank you for welcoming us to the Concord." Dosu placed his hand over his chest in the formal greeting. The stars shine brighter with Earth among them. Commander Park was shorter than the others but stood straighter. Her eyes, Dosu noticed, missed nothing. They darted around the room, taking in exits, taking note of guards, assessing everything. A soldier's eyes. "We have prepared quarters for your team," Dosu said. "Tomorrow, we begin formal talks." "Thank you," Park said with a small bow. "We are eager to learn the ways of the Concord." As the humans were led away, Dosu's aide leaned close. "She does not seem like much, this human leader." "Do not be fooled," Dosu replied. "I have seen that look before. On the faces of those who have known loss but found strength in it." Later that night, Dosu reviewed more files on humans. Their planet had known many wars. Their history was filled with violence but also with great acts of cooperation. They fought fiercely but also forgave deeply. A strange mix. The next morning, negotiations began. Commander Park spoke clearly and asked smart questions. When a Thraxian counselor suggested that humans should wait longer before getting a vote in Concord matters, Park did not get angry. "We understand your concern," she said calmly. "But Earth has much to offer now. We don't want to wait decades to be true partners." Dosu found himself agreeing with her. The humans were ready. During a break, Dosu approached Park, who stood alone looking at a star map. "Your home system," he said, pointing to a small yellow star. "It seems far from everything." Park smiled slightly. "We've been alone a long time. It made us both careful and bold." "Like your Lieutenant Kim," Dosu said, remembering the report. His actions during first contact were unexpected. Park's smile faded. "Taeho always put others first. When the signals were mixed up and weapons targeted our ship, he manually overrode the shield generators. He saved everyone on board, except himself." Dosu felt something rare, respect for a being he had never met. In Thraxian culture, we have a saying, the greatest warriors are known by the lives they save, not the lives they take. For the first time, Park's formal manner softened. Taeho would have liked that saying. As they walked back to the talks, Dosu realized why his superiors had given him this job. Not because humans were unimportant, but because they might become very important indeed. And understanding them would take a diplomat with his experience. Looking at Commander Park's determined face, Dosu knew the coming days would test his skills. These humans were different from any race he had met before. And he found that idea not troubling, but exciting. The grand banquet hall gleamed under soft blue lights. 3 weeks of talks had gone well. Tonight was meant to celebrate the growing trust between humans and Thraxians. Captain Dosu had ordered the best food from 5-star systems. Servers carried plates of rare delicacies that even senior diplomats rarely tasted. The wine came from the famous gardens of Proxima, known for its sweet flavor that both humans and Thraxians enjoyed. Commander Park entered with her team. She wore a formal Earth uniform with gold buttons that caught the light. The other humans followed, looking around with wide eyes at the tall ceiling and strange art on the walls. "Welcome," Dosa said, bowing slightly. "Tonight we eat as friends, not as diplomats." Park smiled. "A welcome change. My team could use a break from all the serious talks." The night progressed well. Humans and Thraxians sat mixed together at round tables. At first, the talk was stiff and formal. But as glasses emptied and were filled again, laughter grew louder. Cultural barriers seemed to melt away. Dosu watched with satisfaction. His aide leaned close. "The humans drink much for such small beings." "They contain multitudes," Dosa replied, using a human saying he had learned. Near midnight, Dosa stood and raised his glass. The room quieted. "To new friendships," he said. "And to the future of humans in the Galactic Concord." Everyone drank. Then Commander Park stood. Her cheeks were slightly flushed from the wine, but her voice was steady. "I would like to add a toast," she said. "To those who made this possible. Especially Lieutenant Taeho Kim, my friend and officer, who gave his life during first contact. Without his sacrifice, none of us would be here today." The humans raised their glasses solemnly. "To Taeho," they said together. The Thraxians also raised their glasses, following the custom. Dosu felt the mood growing too heavy. In Thraxian culture, feasts were for joy, not sadness. He thought to lighten the moment. "Ah yes, the lieutenant who failed to recognize standard warning signals," Dosu said with what he thought was a friendly tone. "His error was unfortunate." The room went completely silent. Glasses froze midway to mouths. The humans stared at Dosu with shocked expressions. Commander Park placed her glass down very slowly. Her eyes, which had been warm all evening, turned cold. "I don't believe I heard you correctly, Ambassador," she said. Her voice was soft but carried across the silent room. Dosu, not sensing the danger, tried to explain better. "I meant no offense, Commander. I simply observed that Lieutenant Kim's mistake was common for new space travelers. He misinterpreted the warning lights from our ships as a greeting." "An amateur error, really. Sad that it cost him his life, but useful as a learning experience for your people." Park's face didn't change, but something happened to her eyes. They became like two black holes, pulling all warmth from the room. One of the human officers stood suddenly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. Another placed a hand on her weapon. The Thraxian guards shifted nervously. "Commander Park," Dosa said, confused by the reaction, "have I said something wrong?" Park placed both hands flat on the table. When she spoke, her voice was control itself. "Ambassador Dosu, this banquet is over. My team and I will return to our quarters." She turned to leave. Her team followed immediately, all signs of enjoyment gone from their faces. "But Commander, there is still dessert," Dosa said, truly puzzled. "The frozen crystals of Saturn are a rare treat." Park stopped at the door but didn't turn around. "You should know, Ambassador, that on Earth we have a saying, speak well of the dead, or do not speak of them at all." Then she left. The other humans followed without looking back. Dosa turned to his cultural advisor. "What happened? Why are they angry?" The advisor, who had studied humans for years, shook his head slowly. "Sir, humans have strange customs about their dead. They do not speak ill of them, especially in public, especially when alcohol is involved." "But I spoke the truth," Dosu protested. "The lieutenant did make a mistake." "Truth matters less than respect in this case," the advisor said. "I fear you have made a serious error. Dosu looked around at the half-empty room, the abandoned food, the spilled drinks. Somehow, in trying to make things better, he had made them much worse. Tomorrow, he said firmly, I will explain better. They will understand once they are not affected by the wine. His advisor didn't look convinced. And as Dosu watched the door where Commander Park had exited, he felt the first small twinge of worry. This human reaction was something he didn't understand at all. Dosu woke early the next morning. His head hurt from the wine, but he was eager to fix things with the humans. He would explain his comment better. Surely they would understand. His personal screen flashed with an urgent message. Dosu blinked twice, sure he was reading it wrong. The human delegation has packed their belongings. Their ship leaves in 1 hour, his aide reported. Dosu dressed quickly and rushed to the human quarters. The halls were empty. When he reached their rooms, he found only cleaning staff. Where are they? He demanded. Gone, sir. Left before sunrise, a small worker answered. Dosu hurried to the landing bay. He arrived just as Commander Park was boarding her ship. He called out to her. She turned, her face as calm as stone. Ambassador. Commander Park, why are you leaving? The talks are not finished, Dosu said, struggling to catch his breath. They are for us, she replied. A formal notice has been sent to the Concord Council and to your government. Over a simple comment? Dosu could not believe it. I spoke honestly about your lieutenant's error. Park's eyes were cold. You mocked our dead at a dinner meant to build friendship. This shows us everything we need to know about Thraxian values. I did not mean. Intention matters less than impact, Ambassador. Safe travels to you. She turned and entered her ship. Dosu stood helplessly as the bay doors closed. The ship lifted off smoothly and disappeared into the morning sky. Back in his office, Dosu found a message waiting from the High Command. His stomach dropped as he played it. Ambassador Dosu, said the stern face of General Cast, explain immediately why the humans have filed a formal complaint calling your behavior a grievous cultural violation and why they have broken off all talks with us. Dosu tried to explain. It was a simple comment about their dead officer. I mentioned his tactical error. General Cast looked stunned. You insulted their fallen soldier? At a formal dinner? It was just honest talk, Dosu protested. The lieutenant did make a mistake. They're terminating talks over a joke, the general asked incredulously. It wasn't exactly a joke, Dosu admitted. More an observation. General Cast's scales darkened with anger. Fix this, Dosu. Whatever it takes. 3 days passed. Dosu sent message after message to Commander Park. All returned unread. He tried to contact other human officials. None would speak with him. Then strange things began to happen. The Belvian Trade Group, longtime partners with Thraxia, suddenly cancelled a major contract. When asked why, they simply said they were exploring other options. The next day, the Nuri Collective postponed a military exercise with Thraxian forces, citing scheduling conflicts. Dosu was confused until his intelligence officer requested an urgent meeting. Sir, I've traced these cancellations. In each case, a human representative met with our partners just before they pulled out. What are they saying about us? Dosu demanded. The officer looked uncomfortable. They're not saying anything bad, sir. They're just sharing information. What information? The officer placed a data pad on the desk. Details about your military campaigns in the Orion sector. The civilian casualty counts. The destruction of cultural sites. Dosu's scales paled. Those records were classified. Not to humans, apparently. They've also shared recordings of your comments about Lieutenant Kim. More reports came in hourly. Across 17 systems, partners were pulling back from Thraxian deals. Not breaking ties completely, but creating distance. Each time, humans had quietly visited first. Dosu received another call from General Cast. What is happening? The general demanded. Our trading volume is down 30% in 3 days. The humans are behind it, Dosu explained. They're showing our partners information about my past campaigns. Can we stop them? They're not doing anything illegal. They're just sharing facts. A human cultural expert was brought in to explain. She looked nervous to be addressing such high-ranking Thraxians. They call it consequence protocol, she explained. It's a measured response to what they see as disrespect of their honored dead. But it's just one dead human, General Cast protested. The expert shook her head. To humans, that doesn't matter. Each life holds the same value. By mocking Lieutenant Kim, Ambassador Dosu effectively insulted all their dead heroes. How do we stop this protocol? Dosu asked. It's not programmed to stop until they feel the offender has truly understood what they did wrong, she said. Not just apologized, but understood. That night, Dosu sat alone in his quarters. Outside his window, he watched 3 trading ships change course away from Thraxian space. On his desk sat reports of cancelled meetings, postponed deals, and wary partners. All because of a few words about one dead human. For the first time in his long career, Dosu felt truly outmatched. 2 weeks passed. The damage to Thraxian trade grew worse each day. Captain Dosu's once proud name was now spoken with frustration by his own people. His door chime rang constantly with messages from angry officials and worried merchants. Dosu knew he had only one option left. He sent a formal request to Earth, asking for a private meeting with Commander Park. He expected rejection. To his surprise, she agreed. The neutral meeting place was a small station orbiting Jupiter. Dosu arrived early, his personal ship carrying only him and his pilot. No guards, no aides, no diplomats. This was how Commander Park had requested it. The meeting room was plain. A single table, 2 chairs, nothing on the walls. Dosu waited, standing by the large window that looked out at Jupiter's swirling clouds. The door opened. Commander Park entered alone. She wore a simple uniform with no special marks or medals. Ambassador, she said with a small nod. Commander. Thank you for meeting me. Dosu bowed deeper than protocol required. I come seeking understanding. They sat across from each other. Park waited silently. Dosu had planned a careful speech, but looking at her steady gaze, he decided on honesty instead. Why has my comment about Lieutenant Kim caused such damage? He asked simply. He did make an error in the first contact situation. This is fact. Park's face showed no anger, only a deep weariness. In human culture, our dead are sacred. Especially those who died serving others. But facts are facts, Dosu said, confused. Teiho's tactical error was made saving 3 civilian vessels, Park interrupted. She pressed a button on the table. A hologram appeared between them. It showed the first contact incident from the Earthship's view. Dosu watched as the Thraxian warning signals flashed. He saw Lieutenant Kim at his station, his face growing concerned. He recognized your warning, Park said quietly. He was the first to understand what was happening. The recording continued. Kim shouted something to the captain, then ran to a different station. Alarms sounded. Our main ship was in danger, Park explained. But we had 3 civilian science vessels with us. They couldn't move fast enough to escape if shooting started. Dosu watched as Kim's fingers flew over controls. The smaller Earthships began moving away as Kim rerouted power to shield them. He had a choice, Park said. Shield our military vessel or protect the civilians. He chose the civilians. The recording showed the first Thraxian shots hitting the main Earthship. The civilian vessels escaped. On the bridge, systems exploded. Kim was thrown across the room, his body crumpled against a wall. Park turned off the recording. He knew the risk. He chose it anyway. Dosu sat in silence, his understanding of the event completely changed. I did not know this, he finally said. Park touched the table again. A new image appeared. A large building filled with thousands of humans. At the front, a picture of Lieutenant Kim smiled down at the crowd. This was his memorial service, Park said. Over 10,000 people came. Many never met him. The image changed to show an older couple receiving folded flags and medals. His parents, Park explained. They received his honors. Another image, small human children placing drawings and flowers at a stone monument with Kim's name. Children from the families he saved, Park said. They visit his monument every year on the day he died. One last image, Lieutenant Kim in his uniform, smiling next to Commander Park. We were at the academy together, Park said softly. He was the kindest person I've ever known. When I couldn't understand a difficult concept, he would stay up all night helping me. When my mother died, he sat with me for days. She looked directly at Dosu. We remember our dead, Ambassador. Not just their mistakes. Dosu felt something he had never experienced before, a deep shame that went beyond embarrassment. He had reduced a complex life to a single error. In his culture, this was normal. In hers, it was unforgivable. In Thraxian society, Dosu said slowly, we focus on learning from errors. We speak of mistakes so others will not repeat them. And we speak of courage so others will be inspired by it, Park responded. Dosu stood and walked to the window. Jupiter's great red spot swirled below, a storm that had raged for centuries. I wish to learn, he said finally. Truly learn. About Lieutenant Kim. About how humans honor their dead. About what I have failed to understand. Park studied him for a long moment. That would be a start. Will you teach me? Dosu asked. For the first time since that terrible dinner, Park's expression softened slightly. Yes, she said. I will. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Concord was filled to capacity. Representatives from 17 star systems sat in rising tiers, their faces solemn. At the center stage stood Ambassador Dosu, once the pride of the Thraxian Empire. Today, he looked different, humbler, perhaps wiser. 6 months had passed since the disastrous dinner. 6 months of silence from Earth. 6 months of declining trade and wary allies. But also 6 months of learning. Dosu had immersed himself in human culture. He spent weeks studying Earth's customs around death and remembrance. He read their books, watched their ceremonies, and spoke with human teachers. He learned about memorial gardens, about eternal flames, about the strange human belief that a person's spirit lived on in the memories of others. Now Dosu stepped forward to the speaking platform. His voice carried clearly through the hall. I come before you today not as the decorated commander who conquered the Orion systems, but as a student who failed his first lesson. The room was completely silent. No one had ever heard a Thraxian of Dosu's rank speak this way. 6 months ago, I insulted the memory of Lieutenant Taeho Kim of Earth. I reduced his heroic sacrifice to a tactical error. In doing so, I violated one of humanity's deepest values. In the front row sat Commander Park. Her face revealed nothing. I have spent these months learning what I should have known before meeting humans. I have learned that they view their dead, especially their heroes, as sacred. To mock them is to mock all humans who live today. Dosu gestured to a large screen behind him. It showed Lieutenant Kim's smiling face. This man gave his life protecting civilians. He chose to save others rather than himself. In Thraxian culture, we would study his error to prevent future mistakes. But humans study his choice to inspire future courage. Several Earth representatives nodded slightly. Today, I formally apologize to Earth, to Commander Park, and to the family of Lieutenant Kim. And I announce the creation of the Taeho Fellowship. A murmur went through the crowd. This was unexpected. This fellowship will fund 50 students each year, 25 human and 25 Thraxian, to study each other's cultures. They will learn what I failed to learn, that different species honor their heroes differently, but all deserve respect. Dosu looked directly at Commander Park. Humans have taught me that loyalty extends beyond death. That remembering the best of someone is not hiding the truth, but honoring the full truth of who they were. His voice grew stronger. The Thraxian Empire commits 1 million credits annually to this fellowship. And I personally commit the remainder of my diplomatic career to ensuring no other species makes my mistake. When he finished speaking, the hall was silent. Then Commander Park stood and walked toward the stage. Every eye followed her. She climbed the steps and stood before Dosu. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Then she extended her hand in the human greeting gesture. Dosu reached out his much larger hand and carefully shook hers. The image was transmitted across 17 star systems. The mighty Thraxian and the small human, hands clasped in respect. The fellowship honors Teiho's memory well, Park said, loud enough for all to hear. He always believed in building bridges, not walls. 3 months later, Dosa visited Earth for the opening of the expanded Teiho Kim Memorial Garden. Thousands of humans gathered to watch as he placed a stone tablet among the flowers. The tablet read, "To mock the honored dead is to misunderstand the living." Children from the ships Teiho had saved sang songs. His parents thanked Dosu for coming so far to honor their son. As he walked through the garden, Dosu noticed how different it was from Thraxian memorials. No lists of battles won. No counts of enemies defeated. Only stories of kindness, of friendship, of small good deeds remembered. On his last day on Earth, a young reporter asked him, "Ambassador Dosu, you were known as the conqueror of worlds. Now you're known as the bridge between species. Which title do you prefer?" Dosu looked out at the garden where humans placed flowers on Teiho's monument. "The second," he said simply. "It is harder to build than to conquer. I am learning this every day." When Dosu returned to Thraxia, he found his name was spoken differently now. Not with fear or even just respect, but with something new: admiration for his ability to learn and change. In diplomatic schools across the galaxy, the story became required study. The Dosu incident, they called it. But what they taught was not his mistake, but his recovery from it. His willingness to understand a completely different way of honoring the past. And that, in the end, was the greatest legend of all.